Question 1054. Would you support a mandatory environmental service for adults aged 18 to 30? Kind of like military service, but instead of fighting, you must spend a few months on reforestation projects or ocean cleanup, etc. Why or why not? Manda.
Well, yes. I mean, other than the fact that we're not making much in the way of strides, especially globally, toward the fight against climate change. And I've said a million times, and the way we're going to do it is to do so globally. So you put everybody, you give everybody that no option whatsoever. You have to confront this head on. Then maybe people will start waking up and seeing that this is an actual issue, because you spend a certain amount of time, planting trees or whatever for the specific purpose of fighting against climate change. They will become more educated on the subject, understand it better, and perhaps fight against the use of fossil fuels and towards solving climate change. So, yes.
Microraptor says, I like the idea more than military service. Joke Shop agrees. So does B. Jeff!
Okay.
Right. Jenny was raising her... Wait. Oh, Jenny was raising her hand,
Sorry.
Dave.
Go on, Jenny.
I would want it to be an absolutely worldwide effort. Every country on Earth does it. The length of service is 2 years. 1 year being spent planting trees and other vegetation. The other year being detailed to some sort of cleanup. And it's absolute. Everybody has to do it. If you're disabled, then we find you something that can work within your disability to help. But it's a worldwide crisis. We absolutely must make a difference, and as fast as possible.
Building infrastructure as well for alternative energies.
That's part of it. Yep.
Hans says yes, it would get people maybe connect with environmentalism. Like same things exist where I live with social service, military alternatives right now.
I don't care if they get connected with environmentalism. The job's got to get done.
Jefferson Spatchcock says, I would place the mandate on citizens after businesses were required to perform comparable services relative to their impact.
Yes. Well said, Jefferson.
Okay, we can add that in.
Usually whatever he says is well said.
Right. I'm going to be back in 2 seconds. Jeff, answer.
Okay. Okay. I might go a different route with this. I appreciate the sentiment of this thing, but I might go a different route. I would sooner, rather than doing some sort of like national service type thing, I would be looking to restructure the economy and bring more permanent jobs in around fighting this. I think it's probably a more viable way to go with this. So that would be more the route. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of, but I think something along the lines of more like, effectively, if we could, and again, this always comes on the problem that you do need to get every country in the world pretty much on board with this, and it's the same. So the same problem exists there. But if we can actually retool our economies the same way that, I mean, we've tooled our economy around full employment for like 30 years around the fucking Cold War. We built prosperity on the fucking cone of an H-bomb. Why can't we actually build that prosperity around something a bit more fucking positive that's like going to actually save the world?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying it's perfect, because it's still a lot of the economic laws and the sort of, it only, it staves. Yes, there is the problem that it only staves off the tendency of the rate of profit to fall temporarily, just like the permanent arms economy did. But it would be a massive step in the right direction. That's more the way I would like to go with it, that you could actually not only tackle this problem, but I think have full employment and raise people's living standards at the same time.
I think I can answer that. I would bet back in the earliest days of humans beginning to settle into small clusters of families or whatever in the cave or in the area of their area of the forest or whatever, that there were always people, a certain percentage, maybe 10%, 15%, who you had to fight to convince not to shit where you eat.
We were still doing that.
There's just too many people who don't fucking care and are too stupid to realize why they should.
They think that's why the British ended up beating the French. Because we separated our latrines from our cooking areas in the military.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Wait a minute. Are you saying the French don't?
They didn't. We're talking about a couple
They
hundred years
did the
ago.
one. Yeah, we're talking about Napoleonic times.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
God damn.
I think the Grand Army, yeah, they that was kind of.
It's not to say they
heard
shit
people
on their
say
food.
that
It's just that
it was
we didn't
that
know.
it was because they learned how to can food and preserve it that way, and I don't believe that. I think it's because
But there's-
the process of preservation kills the bacteria that they weren't being concerned about.
Yeah.
It's also a bit of a misnomer anyway for the way, because of the way the two armies actually supplied their food to their troops. But that's a whole different.
Yes, very much so. Whole lot different debate. Right,
The
Doc.
Grand Army lived off the lands where the British Army set up supply chains.
Doc, I support the environmentalist draft, especially if they replace the military draft with it, although I understand it's not a stipulation. Hans, but if more people confronted that might pressure companies too. True. Evan says, but yes, regardless of Dave's accent, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
By the way, I would make it retrospective.
What?
That I don't care if you're a CEO and you're 50 years old, you still got to put in your 2 years.
Do you think you
I
should
don't
be
care
able
how
to
much
buy
money
your
you
way
make.
out of it?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Absolutely not. No such thing as carbon credit.
Yeah.
That's just a lie.
Chad says, I vote no. We need a program like CESGAP in Quebec, where you have an integrated gap year rather than standard grade 12/first year of uni. Kevin says, I just realised how much God the Scummer reminds me of Bill Bailey's accent. Jeff does remind me of Bill Bailey on occasion. Jefferson says, I agree with God the Scummer. Making mandatory environmental service could serve as a training program that prepares every citizen for a trade with permanent environmental services.
I'm not sure how I should take that Bill Bailey comment.
Which one, mine or his?
Either.
Ilya says, can I sign up for both? We need both. I would do both.
I know the Bill Bailey of Song and Mirth, but what Bill Bailey are you talking about?
Not the one you're thinking about. He is the... What's he called? He's something Buddha. the farm... Is it the farmer's Buddha? Oh, I can't remember. Something Buddha. 9 o'clock Hero says, and hello 9 o'clock Hero. Yes, it would create jobs, raise awareness, give people a sense of pride. They could go back to woodland forest and say, I helped build this. I do wonder, sorry, as a slight diversion on that point, I do wonder whether or not we can't maintain things now because things last too long.
What do you mean?
Well, when you had to do, for a house, is an interesting, when you had to paint something every year on a regular, on that sort of schedule, it got done. Now we have paints that last 5 to 10 years. A lot more of them go to rack and ruin because it's too long to schedule in a lifetime. If that makes sense. You paint it.
But
and then you...
That being said, I mean, you also, there's some things like that, but a vast majority of consumer products nowadays, including things like houses alone, are not built to last.
Oh, completely agree.
This house is...
You build houses out of wood. For God's sake.
Okay,
I
I've
challenge-
heard this
I challenge-
argument before, but I've lived in houses that were built out of wood that were still built way better than this house in particular because it was built within the last 15 years.
Yeah.
You know,
B says, I think anyone unemployed and able to get out of bed but is on government assistance should be required to do community service. When doing that service, they can be trained, and if they do their job well, they can be hired by it to the agency. Fair enough.
See, again,
Yeah,
though,
the problem I've got, you're going to say what I'm going to say, Jeff, which is, I know, go on, you
Yeah.
say it. Go on.
No, go on, Dave. You say it first, because we might.
The problem you've got is that when you go down the route of getting the unemployed to do labour, it reduces the value of labourers in that market, and it basically companies start using it as free labour. And we've watched it happen here with the supermarkets. We thought, great, we're going to get people off the unemployment, we'll get them into supermarkets, the government will fund their salary while we get them trained up, and now the supermarkets just have a subsidised labour force.
Well, I mean, workfare. It was kind of kicked back, wasn't it, for a bit? But it was all this whole thing of because it was the whole stigma, get the lazy unemployed dossers off their asses and do some work. That was the whole rhetoric behind it.
Yeah.
What it is doing is subsidising profit. There's an easier way of getting the unemployed, to do some work. Create some fucking jobs.
Yeah.
Would be a good start.
Well, that's capitalist dream that you're never going to be able to beat back is to subsidize profit, but to the other way.
This is the bloody hypocrisy of these big companies that talk about like we don't want state intervention, blah blah blah. They fucking do when they need to be bailing out.
There is no such thing as a free market. Never have been. Never will.
I mean, no. That's the state. The state is intrinsically linked. And people talk about small government. That absolutely not. And that I think in the United States is even worse. I mean, you look at the people at companies like Walmart, where people are working full time and still having to claim fucking welfare. That is taxpayers subsidising their fucking profits.
Yeah, completely. Ilya says, seriously, think it would be a good idea, but why stop at 30? Maybe 18 to 30 is required, but after can be voluntary. I would volunteer. I love the ocean and the forest. Save both. If they had these things and systems in place, it would be so easy to do as well. But having the systems in place seems to be the problem. Harmonica Man says, the service would prepare society for terraforming other planetary bodies, so our population wouldn't be such a problem here. No, it would be a problem in other places!
Well, we need to learn to work together as a planetary force.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
When the aliens
the only
come
way
in,
that's going to happen is
we're
by force.
still fractured by 200 different tribes. We'll never succeed against the aliens. They'll own us in a day.
I have some questions I'll ask later. Hans says, supporting ex-felons with okay paid environmentalist jobs and free training and their service together might be good for reintegration too. Yes.
Yeah.
It's required. This is cleaning trash. Right. Next question, I think. Oh, Quinton.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys talk this out for a second. I think it should be mandated. I think that, we use a lot more trees and stuff that we don't replant. So I think that definitely is something we should mandate. So
Excellent. That was easy.
you answer, Dave. Your turn.
We haven't got
Or
B
you
yet.
start. B, did you answer?
No. Go on.
You guys have said so much, I don't even remember what the fucking original question was. Something
Would
about...
you support a mandatory environmental service for adults aged 18 to 30?
Oh, I actually answered that in the chat. So, I think anybody that's able-bodied and unemployed and living off of government assistance fully should be required to do 10 to 20 hours, something like that, of community service every fucking week. You get all the young kids out there cleaning up trash and scrubbing graffiti off. And as people get older, you give them easier jobs. And then the younger ones won't want to do that, and they'll go get a fucking job and quit
We
looking out
argued
for my
against that.
goddamn
Well,
taxes.
again, once again, though, why not actually just employ them to do these jobs rather than
Well,
in
see, but that's
a
the rest of it.
social
Hold on now, Jeff.
workfare program?
They are getting paid. They're getting paid by our taxes to sit on their fucking ass and do drugs and steal my goddamn alcohol out of my store. So what you do is you train them in that position. You make them do it. If they do well, you hire them into it. It's like on-the-job training mixed with a fucking really good interview. If they do shit, then you leave them in that position of voluntary work. And then when you hire them in, they're all government assistants and I don't have to pay for their asses anymore.
The problem is, if they are doing voluntary
they make more
work,
money than I do, and I fucking work all the time.
Yes, the problem is...
Go ahead, ran over.
That's because you're underpaid by your fucking employer. Point your anger in the right direction, B.
That has nothing to do... Jeff, you don't fucking know these people. Look, where I live, listen. Where I live, these fuckers take home... Hold on. Quit interrupting me. These fuckers take home $600 to $900 a week. A week, Jeff. Tell me who makes more than that. That doesn't have a fucking college degree. Tell me somebody.
Yeah.
Here, nobody.
Hold on. Whoa.
Nobody. You better be a fucking business owner.
Once again, because we hear this rhetoric all the fucking time here. This is not something exclusive to America, okay? We've been fucking clear. We hear this rhetoric all the fucking time. Well, if they are actually getting paid more money than people who are in full-time work, that's because you're being fucking underpaid, because you're being exploited by your fucking employer. That's where the fucking anger needs to be pointed. That is where. So
you're telling me that the common person that has no college degree can make more than $2,400 to $3,600 a fucking month take home. Take home.
The average American income right now is about $55,000 a year.
And
when I worked in Ohio, I used to work 70 fucking hours a week so I could take home $3,500 fucking dollars, and that was at $21 an hour because they were taxing the shit out of me to pay for those little fuckers.
Yeah, you were being underpaid.
You're being underpaid, B.
$21 an hour is not underpaid, sunshine, for not having a goddamn fucking walking into a job with no fucking degree and no experience.
We're talking about living wage, not whether or not you've been educated enough to earn a certain level.
I mean, hell, the minimum wage here is 11 something. No, it's up to $12 an hour. It's still not enough.
Yeah, that's right.
It's still not enough to fucking survive.
Exactly.
Right, wait.
Right.
Before we move on, I want to answer this question.
Yeah, we better move on because I'm about to fucking go off on a couple people. So let's just move on, Dave.
Right. There's an interesting thing here. Would people support the idea that they can waive their service in exchange for being banned from having kids?
What?
Say that again, Dave.
Would people accept or support the idea that they could waive their service, their mandatory environmental service, in exchange for being banned from having kids?
Oh.
I think that's an interesting twist, is the point.
Make this
I like it.
I like the fact that you were I love the fact that you're actually trying to make this question even more fucking controversial than it's already done.
The point is, it's an interesting idea because it goes back to the question I asked the other day about whether or not you should be more for the individual or more for the society.
Well, I mean, here's the issue is obviously population control is an enormous part of our problem with climate change. I would say partly. I don't think that it should be a complete, recusal of your duty to do so, but I think it would be a good idea to give people some incentive to, cut down on population, and so partially, perhaps.
How about if we do what one person suggests in the chat to not ban them but sterilize them?
Well, no, I was assuming by ban them they mean sterilize.
Oh,
Yeah.
They
Really?
would not. They would be made. It would not be possible for them to have kids. So you are agreeing to not have kids, to not add to the environmental load in that respect. Oh, that was an interesting point. Right. Next question. The penultimate question. Question 1055.
Can I let me hold on, Dave. Let me say one thing because people are misunderstanding me. I'm not talking about people that are currently looking for jobs and having trouble finding something that's worth walking out the door for every morning. I'm talking to people about the people that are professionally unemployed. They are young, able-bodied people that could go get a job somewhere as a fucking cashier, and they're sucking off the system. Those are the people I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people that are currently sick and can't work, or people that are looking for jobs, or people that are furloughed because of COVID. I'm not talking about COVID times. I'm talking about normal, everyday businesses, normal shit. Just to clear up everything. I'm not picking on people that need the assistance. I'm picking on people that don't need it, and they fucking abuse it. So
show me the percentage of those
rant
people.
over.
Show me
Oh,
hard
honey,
numbers
there's
on
a
how many
lot of
people
them.
that is.
I've
numbers.
lived in 9 fucking states.
That
I've lived
was
in
a-
like 20 different fucking cities and towns. I'm telling you, they're everywhere. They are fucking
Yeah, be it.
everywhere, and they suck it up, and they run off and do drugs, and that's why I think they should be fucking drug tested.
I'm not
I
saying
agree
they
with
don't
the-
exist. I'm saying show me them.
I agree
How
with
big a
the-
problem is it? Is the point?
It's a pretty.
Show you them?
It's a pretty
Honey,
fucking
look out
big
your fucking
problem.
door.
It is a pretty big problem.
It's huge. It's fucking ridiculous, and they're leeching off of us.
If you enjoyed that, please hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. If you think you've got a better answer or just want to tell us how wrong we are, leave a comment down below. Subscribe down here for new questions every day, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on our live shows. If you click over here, you'll see our latest upload. Over here, for what YouTube thinks you'll love the most. And finally, for a complete playlist of all our currently released questions, click here.